supposed to say that out loud. That's supposed, you guys get to watch what we're doing. All right, well, welcome everybody. You can all hear me okay?
Yes.
And you can all see the screen. Getting good at gaining ideal clients in the virtual world. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Perfect. Hey, Mick Collins, how you doing, man? Good. I see Tanya.
Good, brother.
I see Brian, and I see 1713 star 575. Who's that?
That is Steve.
Hey, Steve, welcome. Let's see. Yes, Mick, the recording will be available after we're done here. So don't say anything you don't want out in public. And to that point, I do want to encourage everybody to be interactive on this. So let me just kind of go over the rules of the road here. First off, I want you to be curious. Hey, it's STK. Hey, Suzanne. Welcome, welcome. I want you all to be curious, and I'm going to help ignite your curiosity so that you can get the most out of our next hour together. I also want you to give yourself the gift of being present, right? Block the world away for just an hour. Give yourself this gift to learn how to grow your business in the virtual world. All right, so if you can refrain from multitasking and all that kind of stuff, that would be awesome. If you want to take yourself off of hiding, in other words, you want to be in view, we encourage that. It's interactive. You can see we only have about 7 people or so. A couple more might trickle in, but it's really meant just to be a intimate setting where we can all leverage the collective wisdom that's in the room here. And so I encourage that. And I want you to ask for what you need. All right. As we go through this, you get to ask for what you need. It's your responsibility for you to get your needs met. Okay. So if we're going in a direction that's not helpful for you, ask a question, steer us in the direction that you want. So with that in mind, what I would love to hear from you, and you can either speak it or you can put it in the chat, and that is, what's the bottleneck or breakthrough? All right. So in other words, what's the bottleneck that you're experiencing in your virtual marketing? Or what's a breakthrough that you need to have, you need to get with regards to marketing yourself in the virtual world? Does anybody have anything? That's a question, usually followed by an answer. SDK knows what I'm talking about.
I'm happy to share. I'm happy to share something.
Yeah, go for it.
So I find I have no shortage of leads, and I'm good at follow-up. The trick for me would be knowing when to ask for a referral or sell my services to that person. It's kind of like that touchy area, because I'm relationship driven, but there's also a point that I have to get to the sales eventually. So.
Yep, absolutely. So this is not in the slides, but I'm going to encourage everybody to write this down. And this comes from way, way, way back in the day in advertising from David Ogilvy. And the formula is, we want to shock or interrupt or disrupt. We got to get people's attention. So that's the first part. The next part is we need to engage them in some way, right? We need to let them know that we're here for them and that they want to interact with us. Then what we need to do is we need to educate people, right, on what it is that we do, how we can help them, how we can get them closer for them getting what they want. And then finally is the offer or the ask. Now, in the world that we're in, we kind of have to run that cycle early and often, because we're dealing with people that have the attention span of a goldfish. Okay. Now that's not to belittle or demean anybody. It's just kind of the way life is. Everything's moving at the speed of thought, or at least at the speed of how fast we can scroll or work through our inbox. So we always have to be putting the offer out there, and they may not hear it the first time, the 6th time, the 10th time, right? A friend of mine kind of kiddingly calls it the rule of 22. He's in financial services, and he covers, life insurance as well as, investments, mutual funds and stocks and so forth. And, he'll sit down with somebody and he might do a simple mutual fund to help fund the kid's college education. And he tells his clients that he does life insurance also. And he'll, circle back a year later for an annual review or something like that. And the clients tell him, oh, we just bought this whole life insurance policy from this other guy. And he says, well, didn't you realize I do that too? And they're like, oh, no, we had no idea. Right. So we have to kind of have a way of keeping it in front of people. And it's a little bit of an art and a science. And the science is just question. Oh, sorry. The science is that basically everybody that's out there that we're talking to are not necessarily ready to buy right now. Okay. They're what's called a future buyer. And so as a future buyer, that person's actually looking to prove to themselves that they don't need your help, right? They're looking for other solutions. And if you're trying to close them and they're not a now buyer, in other words, the simple matter of it is they don't have enough pain to make a move of some kind, right? And let's face it, if there's not a problem or there's no pain, they don't need a solution for it because there's no problem and no pain. So it's our job, quote, as sales, the sales hat is to identify and magnify what that pain is and create the gap there so that they recognize they need to move from where they currently are to where they want to be. And we, or our product or service, make up the bridge. Okay, so we always have to be painting that picture for people. And most people can build an okay bridge about halfway to where they want to get. So we want to champion them. We want to acknowledge them and what they've done up to that point and simply ask, do you want some help finishing the bridge? That's what we do. And you would be amazed at how that little line works in getting clients. So I hope that kind of answers your question, Suzanne. It's really just, it's an art and a science, and we all get a feel. And there's times where we know, oops, I probably shouldn't have asked for the order quite so soon. And other times where, geez, I should have asked a little sooner. So that's just the kind of the way that it works. Now, again, any questions that you might have, just put them in the chat or raise your hand and I'll take you off mute and we can go that route too.
9.
The thing that we need to remember is for any kind of marketing to work, we have to know who the heck we're marketing to, right? Who is it that we're trying to attract into our system? So the way that we do this is we want to identify who our ideal client is. Who is our ideal client? And we know that typically it's going to be an occupation or a market, if you will. So a lot of my clients are financial advisors. So that's the world I kind of play in. I also work with other small business owners. So that's the occupation. The avocation is, what do they enjoy doing? When you think of your ideal client, and this, by the way, here's an ideal exercise for you to infuse your business with a few new clients or at least a few new sales. And that is, go back to your 10 best clients. And when I say best, what I mean are people that you really enjoy working with, that you made a good commission or a good sale with because it was the right thing. They referred you to some other people. They don't push back on your recommendations. You know the person. Identify who the last 10 of those people were. And it may be over the course of the last month or maybe the last year, but get that list of those 10 people. And then what I want you to do is I want you to reach out to those 10 people. And I want you to ask them, before they did business with you, what was the problem they had that they didn't want? And what was the result they want that they didn't have? And how did working with you create a benefit, impact, or transformation for them? Okay. Also, in your conversation with them, notice what makes them tick. Why do they get out of bed every morning? if they have a mission or a purpose or want to create a legacy. What is that? The more you can understand what that is with those 10 people, that's going to give you evidence of who your ideal client is and what to look for and what to offer so that they want to work with you, so that they become attracted to you. Okay. What makes them tick? What are their qualities? What are their characteristics? Right? What stage of life might they be in? Do they have kids? What's their level of education? Are they philanthropic? Are they athletically minded, outdoors oriented? Right? Get a sense of who this person really is, and you'll understand why in a moment. And then, like I said, notice the problem that they have that they don't want and the solutions or results that they want that they don't have. And once you get a clear picture of who this person is and what their world is, when you craft your messaging, your marketing, when you leave a voicemail, when you write an email, when you take out an advertisement, when you post something on social media, I want you to learn to speak to that one ideal person, right? Create an avatar of that ideal client. And then you get to speak to that one person. And here's the beauty of it. By speaking to that one person, you're going to land to all the other ideal clients that are out there. So think about this. If you're driving your car up your favorite highway and there's a billboard with somebody that has the business that you need, let me say it this way. Let's say that you're a financial advisor and you've got a billboard out on the highway and your ideal clients are driving by this billboard. They get 2.3 seconds to really process or digest what's on the billboard. You want it to be so compelling for that ideal client. So one of my clients, his tagline is edutaining financial peace of mind, right? Because he's kind of a flamboyant person. He loves entertaining people, and he also loves educating his clients. And what he does, the benefit, the impact, even the transformation for his clients once he does his magic, is they feel financial peace of mind. So imagine his face on the billboard with his number and his email or website, and it says edutaining financial peace of mind, and it's, financial services. His ideal clients, they see that, they're going to gravitate towards that. That's going to resonate for them. But not everybody's going to resonate with that message. So that's why it's important to know who your ideal clients are, because we're not out there to convert the heathens. We're not out there to get everybody, right? We only need a certain number of our ideal clients. And the first way that you do this is you get clear on who your ideal client really is. Because when you're clear, who you want will show up, and only to the extent that you're clear. So keep dialing it in, dialing it in, dialing it in. And once you get it really fine-tuned, you'll notice your ideal clients are everywhere. Okay. It's not that they're not available. It's that you're not making yourself available to them by being clear. So that's the first aspect of it. All right. Any questions around understanding who your ideal client is? No questions so far? All right. All right. So next, moving on, is where are these people? Okay. With COVID, I mean, granted, it shut things down. It's starting to open up a little bit, but where are we meeting people? And for virtual, right, even though we may come back fully live, virtual is still going to be a thing. There's still an opportunity to interact with people virtually. So we've got to know, where are they, right? What URL is at the top of their screen that we can also show up into, right? There's 10 of you here that showed up to this URL, right? So you want to know where your ideal client's logging into. So is it LinkedIn? Is it Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat? Clubhouse is the new one, right? You got to have an iPhone for that. I don't have an iPhone yet, but I'm convinced I probably need to go get an iPhone and figure this one out. So I'm not an expert yet, but those are the platforms, right? So when you think of your ideal client, what business are they in? And you can search based upon financial planners, based upon doctors, based upon CEOs, based upon marketing professionals, whatever it is. you can search those platforms for those people and start to narrow in the search. And then also the other place that people are hanging out for these types of things are the different events that are on LinkedIn or on Facebook, right? There's Facebook Live, there's LinkedIn Live. There's ways for you to schedule an event and hold it just like we're holding this webinar right now, okay? Wonderful opportunity to network with other people, okay? So that's the events on all of the above. Think about association meetings, right? If you, let's say, work with building contractors, most local areas have contractors associations. If that's your target market, join that association. And guess what? They're going to have meetings, virtual and live, right? But you can jump into the virtual meetings and be hanging out with a bunch of other contractors if that's your market, right? And by chance, they'll say, well, what do you do? And you might say, well, I help building contractors with A, and I help them with B and C also. Is that anything you ever bump up against, right? So be clear on if there's an association, become a member of that. Chambers of Commerce are a wonderful group. Downtown associations are a wonderful group of like-minded people, business owners, people that know and like to network. All right. Leads groups are another option. Things like Business Networking International, BNI, or LATIP, or there's another great one that I just learned about and learning and playing with called the Networking Group, TNG. It's out in the East Coast, but it's moving west rapidly. And I see a couple of you here on the call, so that's awesome. So look at the different leads groups that you can join and be a part of without violating any conflict of interest. Service clubs, obvious one, right? Rotaries, Lions Club, Kiwanis, all those things are great groups to join. And right now, a lot of them are meeting virtually. They have to meet virtually because they're a large worldwide organization and they have certain protocols they got to stick to. So it's going to be a while, at least a few months before they go live. So right now is a great opportunity to jump into those, get to know those people and network with those people. And I'm going to talk about what you need to do when you're in that venue here in a moment. All right. Meetups are great. So look for things that you're interested in, that somebody might be conducting a meetup, and go learn something, go have some fun, and you'll be in a group with other like-minded people. Perfect platform to do that. Eventbrite is also another events location that you can look at and jump into, right? So look out there, look on the web, just type in things that you're interested in, and you'll notice that there's different groups holding events virtually that you can attend, usually for free. Some may cost a little bit. You're the judge of the cost analysis and the investment and whether it's worth it, but don't starve at the barbecue. There's a ton of stuff out there. All right. Any questions with regards to events that you can attend online? Yes, no, maybe. All right. Okay, moving on. Most people are worried about, how am I going to show up? What am I going to do? How am I going to stand out from the crowd? Here's a classic book, okay, and it stands the test of time. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Now, any sales professional or business person worth their salt has read this book. Suffice it to say, the takeaway from this is to be interesting is to be interested. So you don't have to have all the magical answers. You don't have to be clever, charismatic. You just have to be interested genuinely in other people, curious about what makes them tick. What are their hopes, dreams, values? What do they want to leave behind? Things of that nature. Have that conversation with people and they will connect in with you. Maya Angelou used to say, people aren't going to remember what you said or what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. And that's really it. How do you make them feel? And when you are interested in other people, they feel pretty darn good. So it's really not rocket science. It's really just kind of relaxing into getting to know people, being genuine, finding out a little bit more about them than maybe what they might, naturally volunteer. I've heard it known as intimacy, right? We want to get intimate with people. Intimacy means into me, you see, right? Let me share with you something that's going on in my life. You share with me something that's going on in your life, and it draws us closer. The connection becomes stronger. And people do business with people they like, trust, and understand, right? So by understanding who they are and the person feels gotten, seen, witnessed, heard, understood, they're going to want more of that. They're going to want to continue to do business with you. Okay. All right. So that's that element of it. Now, what we want to look at is how do we do this networking? Okay. And there, I'm going to take you down two lanes. One is when we're on an event, there's a way to network virtually. And then there's also a way to network virtually when we're on a platform, say like LinkedIn or Facebook, where we're not necessarily in an event, but we're just, working with people's posts and their profile. And there's a way to do that. So the first things first, you guys have heard me say, you got to have a camp, right? CAMP stands for Compelling Attractive Marketing Position. I'll say it again, Compelling Attractive Marketing Position. And what that means is you've got to have a light that shines so bright for your ideal clients that they know they're headed in the right direction in working with you. And we develop that camp by answering two key questions. First question, what's the problem my ideal client typically has that they don't want before they meet somebody like me? And what's the result or solution they want that they don't have that I can help them get or experience? And when you craft those two together, that becomes your compelling, attractive marketing position. You might also have heard it as like an elevator pitch or a stadium pitch, but in an event like this, right, if I was going to break you out and we're going to do some networking, and you probably have all been on that type of a meeting, when it's your turn and you've got 30 seconds or a minute to say, here's who I am, here's what I stand for, here's how I help people. If you're bumbling all over the place with it, trying to figure it out on the fly, it doesn't leave a great impression. But if you speak very succinctly and have a compelling, attractive marketing position so that people understand what you stand for, how you help people like them, and you're presentable and you're likable, people are going to want to learn more. Okay. Now, what this is all for is to position you as the guide, not the hero, but the guide to your ideal client. Because your ideal client is the hero. They're the hero or heroine of their own journey. It's like Luke Skywalker or Katniss. They are the hero of that journey, but they have their Obi-Wan, right? They have the person that's going to help guide them and become better, stronger, tap into the resources or the force, so to say. That's you. You're the guide. So your compelling, attractive marketing position needs to convey that you've been there, you struggled, you figured it out, and now you help people just like your ideal client. And all of that needs to be communicated in about 40 seconds, and it can be done. All right. In addition to having a compelling, attractive marketing position, you want to be a good and gracious host of the event, even if you're not the host or the one putting it on. All right. Take on that mindset. I'm the host. It's my job to make everybody feel welcome, to make sure everybody's cocktails topped off, to make sure they've got enough to eat, to make sure that they're meeting the people they need to meet, making sure they're having a wonderful experience. No matter where you go, if you adopt that as your responsibility, people will gravitate towards you. And you can do it in a very respectful way in any group or any event that you go into without overshadowing whoever the real host may be. Okay. And it's really just about being, again, genuinely curious, finding out what people are looking to more fully develop in their world, what's working, what's not working, right? These are all great questions to get into conversation with. Okay. And again, share some value, right? If you've got a book that you've written or a chapter of a book or a survey or something that can help people get closer to where they want to get to, offer it up. Or if it's a book that you recently read, one of the books I've recently read, and I'll tell everybody on here, I think it's a great book, because it says everything I always say, but it's called The Story Brand. And it's a wonderful book that actually talks and shows us how to craft our own hero's journey so that when we're speaking to people, they can understand how we can be the guide to helping them get what they want. It does a wonderful job. So if you don't have that book, get that book. Check out the website. It's called storybrand.com. So there's a little value, right? So that's anytime talk about the most recent book you've read or webinar or podcast where you've heard a golden nugget that can be helpful. Share your best contact information at the event. So what I mean by that is make it easy for people to get back in touch with you, right? Put it in the chat. Like, again, if this was a networking event, I would encourage everybody to put their contact information into the chat. And then that gives people a chance to capture that and follow up. Okay. So for me, you can see on my slides here, I have at the very bottom, it says text BizDev to 21,000. That's how you get a hold of me. If you text BizDev to 21,000, you'll get my email, you'll get my social media contact information, you'll get a cool little video, you'll get my phone number, you get everything you need to stay in touch with me, right? So I've kept it really simple and easy. Well, not easy for some people. They get a little confused what goes first, the BizDev or the 21,000. But it's kind of cool. It sets me apart from most other people, most other business coaches. People like it, makes me more memorable. So have something that makes you memorable and is easy for people to follow up with you. Now, here's the last part. Don't expect people to follow up with you. It's your responsible to follow up with them. Okay, so don't FU the FU. Okay, don't foul up the follow up. Right? So within 24 hours of getting somebody's contact information, having a brief interlude with them, follow up, let them know it was nice to connect in with them. As a matter of fact, what I do if it's a live meeting or even a virtual meeting is I have a written thank you note that I have right here. I put a little cool thing, it's a letter opener with my contact information inside this thank you note. It's kind of hard and thick, right? It's like a little gift or a present when it arrives in the mail to people. Now I have to sometimes do a little homework to figure out what their physical mailing address is, especially now that they may not even be in their office, right? But when people get this and it says something to the effect of, hey, it was great to meet you on the Zoom the other day. Really excited to learn more about Dippity Doo. What do you do? And it's got that information and that little letter opener, it stays on their desk. So now when I follow up with a phone call a couple days later, they're like, oh, hey, I got this, wonderful, right? And I've set myself apart from everybody else, right? And it doesn't cost a lot, it doesn't take a lot of time, but it's really easy to do. So don't starve at the barbecue. Follow up, follow up, follow up. That's where the gold is. Now, that's what you can do from the events. Now let's take a look at if we're just dealing on the social media platform. The categories here are very similar with a slight little bit of a difference. I'm just going to take a swig of water here real quick. I promise it is water, it's not wine. That's in a couple hours. Okay, so again, have your camp, your compelling attractive marketing position. And if you're on LinkedIn, that's the headline that's right underneath your name. By the way, if you're on LinkedIn, you've got to have a picture. Your picture needs to be spot on, professional, because pictures make the first impression. There's a really cool tool if you're not familiar with it. It's called photofeeler.com. And you can actually upload your headshot, your pictures, and people will vote on the criteria you tell them that you want that picture to convey. So if you want it to convey professionalism, likability, authority, whatever it might be, you list it. And then people will say, they'll rank it, it's like, yeah, you look professional, you look this, you look that, or they'll let you know, you're only a 4 out of 10 on looking professional. Well, if that's what you're going for, you need to adjust the picture. So it's a great tool. It's free if you play in it. In other words, you assess other people's pictures. But if you don't want to do that, you can pay and it just comes right back to you with the information. But you need like a 9 or a 10 on that. And trust me, I've actually tested this with myself and with my clients, and the picture makes a huge difference with regards to people's interaction and actually picking up the phone or sending a DM to get in contact. Pictures make a big difference. Also on your LinkedIn, you have a banner picture. That picture needs to tell a story. So maybe it's you in action doing whatever it is that you do. Or if you're passionate about sailing, maybe it's a picture of you. I've got a client, financial planning client. They won the Transpac from San Francisco to Hawaii in their division. So he's got a picture of his sailboat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with like nothing around. It's a pretty cool picture, but it evokes a conversation, right? And people are going to be gravitated towards that. So use your pictures, have a clear and compelling marketing position in your headline. And then your hero's journey is what you put in the body of the text of your LinkedIn or any social profile, right? They got to see where you've been, what you figured out, and how you help people now, and make it easy for them to contact you. Have your contact information, even plug your calendar in there so that they can get in touch with you and schedule some time. All right. Again, share some value, posts, videos. If you've been on podcasts, you can upload those so that people can listen. And keep in mind, you don't necessarily have to be the creator of all of the content that you post on a social media platform. You can be the curator, right? If there's industry magazines that have great articles in them, borrow that, borrow the brilliance, all right? Somebody else has a real clever post or clever video, borrow the brilliance and post it up on yours. It gives you some street cred. It's guilt by association, if you will, right? If I'm posting things from Harvard Business Review and Inc. magazine and Forbes, people associate those are good brands. Guilt by association, I get to ride the coattails of those brands. Okay, it's just the way the psychology works. All right. Now yes, Don, you have a question? You're on mute.
Yeah, is it? Oh, I'm muted now.
No, you're
good.
Okay.
Good. So is it okay to share that kind of thing without getting permission on the internet, or how would you? In what way can we share it and still be safe without getting in trouble?
In trouble by the author?
Well, like Harvard Business Review, that's a copyrighted document.
Right, but if it's a link and that link populates the post, that's public domain.
Oh,
So if it's in public domain, you're good to go. If it's a subscription that you're paying for, and you download something, technically you're not at liberty to put it out there.
Right.
However, I don't think that a company like HBR or anybody else is really going to have a problem with their content being promoted.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So curating versus creating. Now, when we're on social media, pay attention, turn up the volume on this one. This is really important. Okay. Here's what happens is people hire somebody to help them with their social media, and they get all the pictures are dialed in. They've got a good hero's journey dialed in, good, compelling, attractive marketing position dialed in. They're using Canva and clever posts, and they're doing the posts, and maybe even they're, using robots to get people to like their stuff, and they've got clever invitations. That stuff's great. And that never caused my phone to ring, ever. And on a good day, I'm not too bad at this stuff. Here's what got my phone to ring, literally. Here's what fills my calendar, is me going out to people's posts and people's profile and getting into conversation with them. So it's liking their posts, right? Again, Dale Carnegie says, be interested to be interesting, right? If I'm so busy creating and being interesting, it's crickets. But if I show genuine interest in others, all of a sudden people are like, who's this guy? And if I've done a good job with my headline, the camp that follows me wherever my picture and my name go, and I'm commenting on things and I'm interacting with people and I'm liking things, I'm showing up in the feed of all the other ideal clients I'm trying to see because they're liking this stuff too. And all of a sudden it's like, well, who is this guy? And now as I start to do that, and now I'm commenting with those people, it starts to create the attraction. So here's what you do is you go like the posts and comment on the posts. And when you comment, end it with a question. Okay. Because if you just put a post, people gonna go, oh, great, cool, thanks. But if you end it with a question, right? Like, are you really, like I'm a big fan of neuroscience. So when I see something that's oriented around that and I comment on that, I'll ask a question of like, who do you follow in the neuroscience world? Great question, because they're going to start to give me some names of people. Okay. So, and it gets us into a discussion. What do you think about this? How do you feel about that? Great questions. Get people interacting. So that's on their posts. And what you can do is you can go into their LinkedIn, go under activity, and you can see not only what they've posted over the last month and go back and comment on that stuff, but you can also see what they've commented on. And if they've liked something, like, say somebody likes a post by Richard Branson, and it's Richard Branson, falling off a surfboard or something. Well, what did you like about that post? I'm a big fan of Richard Branson also. It's always fun. I love his playfulness and his, ability to be seen as the goof sometimes. What do you like about him? Right? Just as if you were at a chamber event, you're just getting into conversation. Now, I will tell you this. This only works with the people that are interactive on LinkedIn or another social platform. If they don't even know they have a LinkedIn account, and we all know those people, right? And you're busy trying to comment on stuff, they're not seeing it. They're not set up to see it. So you've got to work with the people that are set up and then play in that world, comment, answer with questions, have some fun, follow up. Now, the other place that the gold is in their profile are the dates, the trigger dates, right? So birthdays, promotions. Did they move from a firm, right? And you can actually, if you use tools like Sales Navigator on LinkedIn, you can actually search for people that made a move from a company, right? They've been with, let's say you want to target ABC Mutual Insurance Company and work with people that are brand new there, not maybe new to the industry, but new to that company. You can do a search. It's going to give you back all these names of people, and you go out and like them, like, or connect. This is a personal preference, put it in there for whatever it's worth column. But one of the things that I do is I don't bother writing a bunch of information in the invite to link. I just send a connection request with nothing in it. And why do I do that? I do that because my compelling, attractive marketing position in my profile is so strong that they're going to click and see who I am. And I'm going to let that do the speaking for me. And if I'm their ideal person or somebody that's intriguing to them, they'll receive and link in back. But I've seen too many people trying to craft these clever, introductions. And it's like, you know what? Spare me your brilliance. The more clever it is, the more salesy it is. Yeah, Don.
So I have a LinkedIn account, but I'm not a subscriber for what, I forget if it's $80 a month or whatever. How important do you feel that is in general?
For me, I think it's important. Now, there's Premier or Premium, and there's Sales Navigator. I don't think you need both. You need one or the other because it gives you a deeper search capability. And you can turn it, I mean, if money's a real issue for people, they can turn it on and off, every few months and save some money, do some quick downloads, some quick searches so you got them, turn it off, go work those searches, and then in a couple months, turn it back on when you need to dump a bunch more names into your pipeline. That's one way to do it. Okay. So those are good questions. What are some other questions that you guys have or we're hoping to get the answers to with regards to networking more effectively virtually? Anything?
Yeah, you touched on like outreach and engagement on LinkedIn.
Yep.
And then with Don's question, this is kind of a good segue. With premium or not, do you ever spend much time reaching out to people with InMail, and if so, what's your intro like? You know, being interested, not interesting, and not putting, not sparing the brilliance. What is your recommendation or best practices for that type of outreach?
Well, that outreach comes after I've been interacting with somebody for a while, or looking at their posts and getting a sense of who they really are. And if I'm not connected with them, that's why we would need the InMail, is because we're not connected with them. So I will find somebody in common or something that they've posted on or something that I know about them, and I'll use that in that message, in that InMail. But typically what I do is, again, I just send a barrage of connect. And the one thing you want to be careful of is you want to unconnect after about a week or two, right? If they haven't connected with you in, say, 2 or 3 weeks, they're probably not active, or they don't want to connect with you. So unconnect, because if you have too many connects out there sitting in the pipeline, LinkedIn doesn't like that, and they may, put you in LinkedIn jail for a little bit. So be sure to unhook yourself from the connects that didn't come back. So what I'll do, Dan, is I just send out the connects, and then as people connect in, that's when I kind of identify, okay, I've got these 30 new connections this week, and I'm going to go play with those 30 people for an hour a day each week. And of those 30, there might only be 5 that really get into a deeper interaction. And from those 5, eventually, what I'm going to lead to is in the DM of talking about, hey, Dan, I work with other people just like you. They were telling me that they're worried about A, they struggle with B, and they have concerns about C. Is that anything you're ever up against? Okay, because I know my ideal client so well. And I know what's going on in here, and in here, I can just lead with it. And they're going to think that, gosh, yeah, absolutely, I'm bumping up against that. And if they say no, that's okay too, because then I get to say, well, what are you struggling with? What is a bottleneck? What are you looking to solve or more fully develop? And by that time, I've got enough rapport that they're not offended by that question. They're not, trying to not get hit. They're open. They're like, they see me as a resource. They know I'm human. I've been interacting. So that's how I do it, is I just go out, get my 30 or 50 names, go play with them over the week, winnow them down to the people that are fun and likable, and then work the conversation to get it to that point where I can ask, here's the 3 things most people like you tell me they're bumping up against. Is this anything I could be a possible service for you? And then, if it's a no or a hard no, you keep the interaction, and then it'll just kind of slowly dissipate. And then you dump it into the next week with a new batch of people. And then I use a CRM outside of LinkedIn that these conversations then go into. And the goal is to try to get the email, right? So I can drip on them, because again, only 1% of the people are ready to buy and need what we have to offer. 99% of the people aren't ready to buy now, and they're actually trying to convince themselves they don't need us. So I've got to have a way to stay in touch with them. And real candidly, I don't know if LinkedIn's going to be here tomorrow. None of us do. Okay, so I don't have control. I'm not going to rely on just keeping everything on LinkedIn. I want to get their contact information into my database. I want their email, their phone numbers, their physical mailing address, so that if the world blows up in some way, shape, or form, I've still got a hard copy or a couple clouds to save my tail. Don?
I'm trying to remember, with the LinkedIn Premier, that gives you their email address.
If they've listed it, yes.
Oh.
That's usually in the contact information.
Yeah, but if you don't have a Premier subscription, it doesn't have that information, does it?
It's been so long since I've not had a Premier or a Sales Navigator. I don't know what the free version has or doesn't have. I mean, if you're not a first connection, I doubt it that you'd have access to their contact stuff. But if you are a first connection, I would think that you could get into seeing if they've listed it, their phone number and their email address.
Right. Also, what I've been doing after a Zoom meeting for a while now is they say, send me contact information or something. I say, I'll send you a one-page executive summary of what we talked about. And they like that.
Okay.
So, but even after I do that, and I'm clear, and I explain it in one page, the next time we have a meeting, I like to ask them, I want to be sure that I've been clear about what I do. Would you mind trying to explain to me your understanding of what I do?
I'll be candid with you, Don. For me personally, you're making me work too hard.
Yeah, but how else do I know? People have so much stuff rumbling through their head. Come on, how do I know that you remember? I mean, maybe you know what I do because we have a similar background or business or whatever. But I mean, come on.
Well, it comes down to the rapport, the engagement, and quite candidly, how much pain they're in. Right? If I know, let's say I'm sitting here and I know, you're with insurance and financial services, and if I know I need more insurance, I'm much more open to learning more about how you can help me, right? Because you're my guide, you're my doctor, I need help. But, if I've already got somebody or I think I'm all set and you're getting me to do this work to feed back what I think I heard you say, you run the risk, again, depending upon the level of rapport, you run the risk of them just kind of ghosting, going away.
I just need to say that's one way of looking at it. The other, you told the story of the mutual fund, and the guy said, I sell insurance, but then during the year they bought insurance from somebody else. So it's
right. But I'm not saying to not stay in touch with them and
right.
show them what you do. I'm saying be mindful of, I didn't make this up. This is just kind of proven stuff, right? Seth Godin, great marketer, knows don't make me think and don't make me work.
Hey, Don, can I comment from over here?
Yeah.
What about a test of, so you want them to know what you do and appreciate the value in it. There is that way of testing it. And like Mason's saying, there are some risks. I definitely see those risks with it too. What one of my sort of business development challenges I realized was actually making that final step of actually engaging really easy. And then you'll know if they get what you do and you've made that step really easy, then they'll engage, right? And then you can sort of safely assume that if they don't engage with that, they either don't know what you're doing, and then you need to spend more time educating in a non irritating way, or just a way that because they're not rejecting you either, right? So they're giving you the opening to still be in touch and still educate, in which case you're then in that cycle, or they're not buying and they know what you do, and that is sort of a situation where you're basically in the same camp. Now it's just a matter of following up, and it's those touch things, and so it in some way it can be in the sales mindset. I totally empathize with this. We're like, the problem is they just don't get what we do. Because if we get what we do, then we know we can save them money. We know we can help them out. And so I definitely empathize with that. But maybe think about just, hey, am I making that buying decision, that engagement really easy and simple?
Yeah, good point, Dan. Good point. And so, Don, if I'm understanding you correctly too, this is still done all online. It's not where you've gotten to a phone call yet. Is that correct?
Well, one thing I've realized is even though I didn't like Zoom at the beginning, I realize I can see what's going on. One thing I realized, when we're on a phone call together, you could be checking email or writing notes or doing other stuff having nothing to do with what we're talking about. For that
Right.
reason alone, I like the Zoom because I can see what you're doing.
Right, but what I meant to say is you've gone from just direct messaging somebody via
Uh,
LinkedIn to
yeah,
either a phone
yes,
call or a Zoom.
yes,
Okay, so it's after the phone call or the Zoom that you're asking them to feedback their understanding.
yes.
Okay, you know, all I can tell you with that is test it,
Right.
right?
And the other thing I just want to jump in quickly, because we're going through all these transitions this past year. It's been amazing. And now, so I see Zoom has got a really good place and it can work for a lot of times. But now that I've got my the Johnson & Johnson once and done COVID shot, and now I can go back out, it's like, at what point do we not use the Zoom and go out face to face?
Well, I think the situation's the boss in that one, right? There's going to be people, you know, I kind of have, I'm having that discussion with myself right now, actually, because with Zoom and not having to go out and burn up gas and rubber and all that other stuff, I can have about 12 appointments a day. I can't do that if I'm behind the windshield.
Right.
You know, so I kind of like this model. And you know, it affords me, if when we do go back out live, I'm going to go out with people I really really dig, you know, that I
Right.
love being with and doing fun stuff.
Right.
Yeah, there's going to be those times where, you know, I've got to go out for business, and that's cool, but I think it's going to be different for everybody. And it goes back to your ideal client, right? What do you want? This is a great question to ask yourselves, everybody. What do I want my ideal client to expect of me? Right? Do I want them to expect me to be just Mr. or Mrs. Zoom and interact in that way? Or do I want them to expect me to go out and about and meet them at their home or at their office?
Right.
You know, and now what I really enjoyed is, you know, meeting people initially, especially if they have a business. I like to go out to the business if I can, meet the people, see the operation. Okay, I like that. I miss that aspect of it, so I'll probably gravitate back towards some of that. But it's situation is the boss, and it's in the dynamic. What do you both want? What do you and your client want?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Can I
I
ask
just,
another question off there?
sure.
Uh, what etiquette do you think is forming up around sort of asking that question? I've just been asking, hey, I'm at a point where vaccinated, I'm comfortable with in-person outdoors. How do you feel about it? Because I think there's a lot of that like breaking the social contracts, and we've been in a really tight social contract, and so you know, what are some of your thoughts around that? Because I think that it's an opportunity as well for people that really do want to meet and they're starved for it, where it could be a risk for other people, like, oh wow, you're out doing this, that seems risky, you know, and so there's I can see those tensions. So any thoughts there?
Well, I think, you know, you heard me say it. The situation's the boss. It's not like you're holding up a billboard or, you know, a manifesto of, you know, here's how I operate with everybody, right? It's like, you know, situation by situation. It's like, hey, are you, you know, I'm cool by meeting. I'm got my vax. Da, 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 da. Do you want to meet live, or would you prefer Zoom? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Letting them dictate it,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, being very mindful to not shame or guilt or ridicule whatever decision they may have that you might not agree with.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's everybody gets to do this the way everybody gets to do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, thanks.
Yes, Don.
I don't like it when people are the ones that talk all the time in the meeting, so I'll try to shut up in a minute. But so what I'm thinking is like, understand what my purpose is of wanting to see them. For example, with business owners, when I'm talking about business succession plans and so on, I want to see the buy-sell agreement. I want to see their insurance policies. It's a lot easier to do that when I'm sitting there and the guy runs to a file drawer and pulls them out and we've got it, versus this way, it's like, oh yeah, I'll mail it to you. I'll mail you a copy. It's like, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the thing is, one of my clients, what they did during COVID is they created a Dropbox outside their office where people could drop their documents, right? So there is that. You know, and it all, again, it comes down to where are they in that pain threshold. If they know they're running the risk of, you know, the business blowing up or something, and they know they got to get this stuff handled. And I know that that's not always the case because we're planning for the future and the future is way out there. But again, if we can help them understand the urgency for it, you know, people will step up. They'll, you know, it's just like doing a refinance on our home. You know, it's a lot of jumping through hoops, but if we want to get that better rate or save that money, you know, we'll block the world away. We'll do what we have to do, you know. And I've got a couple clients that are mortgage brokers. They've had amazing years, you know, last year because they just adapted quick. They knew people what they needed, what they wanted. They knew the pain they were in, and they made it real easy. You know, now a lot of it was electronic to get those documents. Okay. So I'm curious, we haven't heard from everybody. And I always like the collective wisdom that's in these rooms. You know, on a good day, I'm not too bad at marketing virtually. I mean, I do it well enough to keep my calendar full and make a good living. But I'm curious, what are some of the things that you all are doing that's getting some results? So what's a best practice somebody has that they might be willing to share when it comes to marketing themselves virtually? Suzanne?
Well, I would say when I really look at what's working, um, it's just showing up and connecting with people one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, being interested, being curious about their business and what they do and how they got there and what they're doing to grow. And do you want to grow or are you scaling back? Do you want to work less? Do you want to work more? I connected with somebody today for 15 minutes and I know exactly what he does because he's actually worked with one of my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And our conversation was so quick. It was like we already knew each other. And I said, look, I'm going to skip past it and just say, I want to refer more people to you after seeing what you did with this client of mine. How did she find you?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you currently meet your clients? And he said, I get my clients through referrals. And it was just a really, really cool conversation. And that's going to result in a lot of referrals for me because he deals with all my ideal clients. But I'm interested in what he does for my clients. So if I just keep doing that, that's what works. And it's not short-term gratification for sure.
Got it. So what I'm hearing is identifying maybe a center of influence and cultivating that center of influence because you have mutual clients.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. Good job. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have a best practice they'd be willing to share? Okay, so I'm going to wrap up with two things. One is the goal with the social media or the virtual networking is to get a conversation going, whether it's on the phone or Zoom, or if they're in your neck of the woods, even live. So have a way to make that easy to occur, right? You know, one of the things I use is a tool called Calendly. It's an online calendar. There's a bunch of them out there. And, you know, I have that really clearly placed in my profile on my different platforms. I post it, you know, in anything that I put out. I post it when I'm in a networking group into the chat so that people can schedule time if they want. And what I've found to be really powerful is in my interaction, my direct messaging back and forth on LinkedIn is getting to that point where I've asked them some questions. They've indicated a little bit of interest or pain, if you will, that they're in. And I simply say, it sounds like it might make sense to connect in for 15 minutes by phone. What do you think? And like 9 times out of 10, they're like, yeah, I'd like that. Let's get acquainted. And it's 15 minutes, right? Nobody thinks anybody can sell them something in 15 minutes. So they feel safe, right? And 15 minutes is just a chance to ask some more questions. And once they recognize, you know, they're kind of all tangled up in this stuff and they need some help, then you can pivot to, you know, hey, it sounds like we might have more to talk about. You know, let's schedule an hour or whatever, or let's get together. So that's the ultimate. And if you follow the process that I talked about, we're just reaching out to about 50 people each week, winnowing them down to the 5 or so that are going to have a real strong interaction. You'll get them into where they'll jump onto the calendar, you know. So I DM the calendar and they don't all jump right in, you know, but they will. And I'm at the stage now where I show up Monday and I've got like 8 new 15-minute slots scattered throughout my week. And I'm able to convert a couple of those into clients each week. So it's a nice rhythm. And I don't say this to impress you, but just to impress upon you. It's a process. It's a system. It does get results and you got to work it, right? So I work it when I'm working it. I don't always work it, but when I am, I do it for about an hour a day. Okay. Right now I'm in a stage where I don't work it because I can't follow up. I need other coaches to work with. And Suzanne, you and I have talked about that. So we're going to make that happen. So here's what yeah, Dawn, you're on mute.
Do you usually do that a certain time of day with that hour?
Yeah, that's where I grab a big cup of Joe in the morning and just kind of drink my coffee and do that. You know, I've worked out, I've meditated, I've read a little bit, and then I jump straight into LinkedIn.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So here's the thing I'm going to offer you guys is if you want, I've got this little 10-day or 10-day challenge. Actually, it's spread over the course of 30 days. It's something I used to offer clients for $2,500. I don't charge for this piece anymore. It's actually yours for free if you want to jump into it. And what it is, it's just emails that are sent out like every second or third day that kind of keep you engaged with some of the concepts that we've shared here today and some other cool goodness that helps you feel a little more centered, a little more productive, a little more peaceful and mindful. So if that's something that you're interested in and want to jump into it, I'd love to have you in it. Also, it includes a 30-minute conversation with me where we deal with a bottleneck or a breakthrough, and you get what you need around those concepts. So you have that too. And again, it's for free. So any other questions before we call it a wrap? All right, guys. Well, you've been great. I appreciate your contribution and interaction. And I wish you a great weekend. Have some fun. And we'll see you on the next gym. By the way, who can tell me what GYM stands for? GYM.
Oh, I know.
Mr. McCollins.
Learn from you. Guide your mind.
Yes. That's it. Guide your mind, guys. You're the one in control. All right. Hope you got what you needed. And the next session will be not next Friday, but the Friday after that. And we'll talk about some more marketing goodness. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thank
You too.
you.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.